I can't wait to see what the big guy's going to do to you.
Reacher Season 2. Sometimes you have to ask yourself, why is something so popular? And when it comes to Reacher Season 2, this might be so dumb that it's fun or so fun that it's dumb. We will discuss. This is Last Page. Issue number 35 of Last Page. I am Maverick King, joined today by Jason Cedars and Rembo across the oceans of the internet. I have not watched. Remy and Jason both decided that this was the show we had to watch. For some reason, out of the hundreds of shows out available, this one, I was forced to watch all 8 episodes. It seems to be very popular. It's one of those weird shows that all of a sudden out of nowhere, this show kind of becomes a commonplace in the mainstream talk about popular shows that are out. And Rem said, go straight to season 2. Don't even bother with season 1. Let's just start off. Rem, why was this show so important for us to watch?
It's a rare blend of I like things that are purposefully bad. Like there's a niche type of horror movie or horror genre where things are like so bad on purpose, but they can nail it and it's fun. This isn't bad on purpose. But it has just enough going for it that it's incredibly entertaining and never boring. I think Alan Ritchson is just, there's something about him. I just can't put my finger on it, but he is, you're a little bit glued to the screen when you're watching him, and it doesn't have anything to do with his acting chops, which he does have. But he's just, when you have a mammoth of a man such as he, and he's just constantly being so fucking cool and so badass in every scene that he's in, there's something about it that is just amazingly entertaining. And I think everybody... And the fact that you, Mav, the fact that you stuck with this show and you actually watched all 8 episodes proves my point, because you're a stickler for not this type of television. And the fact that you were able to get through it proves my point.
So let me back up real quick before I throw it to Jason. To give everyone an idea, if you don't know what Reacher is, this is the second season that came out on Amazon Prime. Seems to be widely popular, more so than the first one. This show has an 8.1 on IMDb, and the second season got like a 79 from critics on Metacritic.
Wow.
Which blows my mind. I don't know. I'm gonna get to my point of what this show is in a minute. But the basic plot line: you have Jack Reacher is a major in the military, kind of does whatever he wants. The plot line of season 2: Reacher and his friends investigate the murder of a member of the 110th. A group of special investigators assembled by Reacher, only to realize the whole unit may be at risk. It is a giant dude that goes around murdering people, basically, with all his friends. Jason, what is the allure? What is the allure of this show for you?
The magnetic mountain man that he is, a mountain of a man and a mountain man. I was so intrigued by this actor and this character, and I started watching this being like, I mean, that's not John Krasinski, this is not this show. And I'm like, oh wait, that's the other R show, so Jack Ryan, the Jack Ryan versus the Reacher. Like, I was so confused. Like when I first started watching this, like I've seen the movies already, and this is second season, I can just jump right into it. So I had no backstory to this, not even watched the first season, and it was just, I think, on whatever, Amazon's Fire TV billboard or whatnot, and really banging this one into us. Whatever their budget for their advertisements, they definitely spent a lot on that, because it was on the front page of a lot of things, so it forced a lot of people just to even give it a try. And I was so happy that I gave it a try, because I think I saw this somewhere on the internet, and I think it classifies this genre, and it is dad TV. And I think bad TV is the perfect way to describe the show, where it's like just enough, storyline, just enough action, just enough little romance, just enough story to like just get us through this, that you can have some like mindless fun while sitting on the couch. And so I can definitely see why this show is popular in a day and age where we have a lot of very heavy shows, a lot of big storylines and plots and stuff like that. It's like I just wanted to see Buddy with his big old meat hooks just destroying biker gangs and in an orderly fashion with very horrible writing and better cinematography than I actually expected, and little better things here and there than I never would have thought. But yeah, I thought it was a very fun ride.
Dad TV. See, this is where it is possible that I am going to offend some people out there. So that is not my intention. That is not my intention to offend people at all. But this show is what Remy and I have defined as Middle America TV. Now, you're probably asking, what's Middle America TV? Middle America TV are all those shows that you think nobody watches, because everyone watches Game of Thrones, Breaking Bad. Those are the shows that kind of the millennial generation and Gen X, and there are people that we watch those kind of shows, and those are kind of just mainstays of everybody. But the shows that everyone watches that no one talks about are all the shows like that are on CBS or NBC. CSI Saskatchewan season 50. Like, you're like, no one watches CSI Saskatchewan season 50, but it gets like 12 minutes. It's like the most popular show next to NFL football. So these shows that are everywhere on any CBS, it's like FBI Miami or those kind of shows.
Chicago Med, Chicago Fire,
Chicago Florist. Like, there's all these shows that you
Law
think
and Order,
but a ton of people watch. And they are shows that are just for the people that go to work, go to their 9 to 5. They come home and they just want to zone out. They're not looking for some great cinematic experience of a show. That is what Reacher is. It's basically the next level of that, because it's on Amazon Prime, so it's rated R, so you have more violence and F-bombs. But generally speaking, the level of stupidity that goes into the writing of the characters and how people act, and just the absolute, there is no consequences to the mass murder that the characters are doing. Like, Reacher basically is going around just might makes right, killing people. His friends, his group of squaddies assembled, nobody questions the fact that he murders people. Nobody ever stops and be like, maybe we shouldn't be murdering people. Everyone goes along with it, and it's like there's no one to even question it. So you're not, as the audience, supposed to question it. You're just supposed to go with it, which is a Middle America trope. So, Remy, the first episode, the hook of the show for me was the introduction to Reacher is basically he is behind a lady at the ATM machine and talk to me about what we see from Reacher when we see a man of his talents at work.
Yeah, I describe Reacher as being half Sherlock Holmes, half Captain America, with a sprinkle, not even a sprinkle, a cup full of Dexter, because he has sociopathic tendencies while also writing a line of like a moral code, but also brilliant in his deductive abilities, and basically a superhero. So he's this blend of all these three characters. And so he's at the ATM. He notices this woman's like shaking, crying. She has like bloody hands or knuckles or something. And like
beat up her face. Or something.
Yeah, like marks on her face. He just takes a look at her. She's like, sorry, gotta get my money out. He like takes a look at her, looks over, sees her car parked, and is just like, you're getting carjacked. Don't worry, this will only take a minute. Walks over. Maybe the best line of the whole show from Carjacker man. I'm sure Carjacker is what he's listed on as I am on IMDb. Your mom better come back with the money soon, kid, or you're gonna what does he say? Oh, dang it.
It's something just to the effect of, your mom better come back with the money. And he's like holding the kid as like the mom's at the ATM. And Reacher then just goes over and just opens up a can of whoop ass on him. And
yeah, just fuck the car. just
Oh, he
punches out the window, rips
punches
him
him
out.
right through the window. Yeah.
Dude, just kicks his ass in all of 15 seconds. Opens the door. Hey, kid, you want to see your mom? Oh, little Jimmy. It's awesome. And then what's your name? I'm someone, or who are you? That's what she says. Who are you? Someone who prefers not to get involved. Reacher.
Dun dun dun.
It's awesome.
Couldn't ask for a better opening.
Dude, it tells you everything you need to know about the character and exactly the type of quality we're gonna get. Except for the fact that it does get the show gets progressively. Oh my god, yes, I've been waiting to talk. I will wait on it, but I've been waiting to talk about the penultimate episode, which has my favorite part of the whole show in that episode. But anyway, it sets the tone for what the show is going to be, and and it's just like, oh, okay, this is going to be fun and it's going to be silly, and you don't have to think about it, just feel it.
Jason, the hook of a show like this typically is we have Reacher, who's the clear obviously the titular character, but this guy is surrounded by his selected group of friends that are in the military, that they are an investigative unit. And typically the strength of a show like this, if it's good, is that the unit is interesting and a diversity of character where you have, the funny guy, the strong guy, or the smart guy, or whatever it might be. How would you assess Reacher and his group of friends?
I did enjoy the cast of characters. Like I said, I was coming into this season 2 not seeing one, so I don't know how many of them were part of one, what even season 1's about. But honestly, these guys around him, I liked. Probably the strongest being the girl Maria Sten. Yeah, the one, not his love interest, which I did not like her as far as a crew. She was the least likable of the little group. But the other girl I really enjoyed, and then the comedic angle of the other guy,
O'Donnell.
Yeah, he was good. Yeah, so just so predictable. It's like they check the mark, check the boxes of what the cast, the ensemble cast of something like this will be, and so it did a fine job. You needed that little comedic tone, you needed the love interest, you needed the cool chick that respects, is like his sidekick. So it did very well at hitting all those notes with it. So no complaints, and even the next circle of cast I thought was well done too. Which I'm a little impartial, like the Dominique I'm going to murder his last name. Lombardozzi. Dominique Lombardozzi, the cop, the shaved head. Dom, yes. Like, I love that actor. Like, I don't even know if he's acting, because it just seems like that's who he really is, and he's that character I think in every show that I've ever seen him in. So and he just does such a great job of that New Yorker cop, and I fucking loved their little bromance, or whatever you would call it, the interaction between those two. They were just either at each other's throats or then hugging, by the end of it, and then of course he gets the send off of the cop saving the child at the end. I mean, it was just so textbook of what that character's arc was, of I hate you, Reacher, and at the very end, I'll die for you, Reacher. I mean, it's great. It's like dad TV. Like, when I saw that this budding relationship between the two, I was like, oh, this is going to end well for you, Dom. So yes, and then even just the villain too. Robert Patrick, I plays such a great villain. Since day one, and I feel like brings some of the better acting chops to this show, because a lot of them are not good actors. I'm not going to defend this show as far as the writing or any of the actors, but some of those shots of just like the close up on Reacher's face, where he was just like, good. Or something like that. After like something like that. I want compilation videos of that, like right now, of just how many just zoom ins on his face, and then just a one liner like, he should have saw that coming, or just something, or like they figure out the next clue. It's like, well, off to the next spot. It's just how many scenes in the
what are we gonna go do? Some cowboy shit.
Yeah, something like that. So great. That wouldn't even say great. They're just good one-liners is what carries the show. So it was well casted, for what these weak characters were. But thumbs up on that.
No, this is the characters and the actors I like that are in this do the best they can, I suppose. But the characters are so flat. And again, if we're comparing it to a time where Middle America TV was the only TV, like a show that Rem and I grew up with was the A Team, which is a very just cut and paste, like the bad
Formula.
guys are hassling some innocent like business, an innocent local business, and the A Team gets called in to take down the bad guys, and every time there's going to be cars that get flipped, and they're going to win. And Hannibal, the leader, is going to smoke cigars and be cocky. BA is the very serious, takes no bullshit character. Murdoch is this insane zany pilot who's certifiably a nut job. And then Faceman is the charismatic guy that can talk the ladies into what he needs to get done. So you have this cool collection of characters, even though it's every episode's pretty much the same. It's this great cast of characters that flush everything out. The cast in this is very boring. His right hand woman, she's just kind of stoic throughout the whole.
Asexual.
Right, that's right.
That's her whole thing, is that she doesn't like to be touched, and she's asexual,
which
is
I
like,
believe.
No, I mean, yeah,
It was very convincing as a woman, as a person that it has no intimacy elements to her life whatsoever. But it's just that character was so flat and boring. The love interest lady was just there to be a love interest and like is still pretty boring. And then the blonde dude that's supposed to be the charismatic guy, he doesn't have really any lines to like spice up his character, but he's just kind of there. It's not like, oh yeah, that moment where him and Reacher have this back and forth. It's just they kind of give him like shit because he used to be a playboy and now he's a family man. But it's the juice of the show are the moments where if he punches through the window and takes the carjacker out, or when we get introduced to Dom, the cop that is tailing Reacher. Reacher just walks up to his car and front kicks it right in the grill and causes the airbag to break Dom's nose. Which that, again, there's those moments throughout the show make it worthwhile because it's so preposterous, but because this guy is just a Terminator, can pretty much do whatever he wants. And it starts off, and that, starts the very typical cop relationship of, you know, he's like, Reacher is going to use him when he needs to. And he's like, all right, well, calls Dom and he's like, well, I need you right now. He's like, oh, I can't do it right now. And it's like this typical, just manufactured, like, I can't believe I'm having to do this for this guy. It's like you're a cop. You don't have to work with murder man that's on the
road. Murder man. Wait, well, his boss comes to find out is more murdery than old mountain man.
Yeah, see, I was curious. I was like, okay, there's someone's a double, you're always going to have a double crosser in there somewhere. Who's it going to be? I thought it might be at various points, but the thing is, the show's just like, it's not smart enough to do this. Like, if his love interest ended up being a double, that would have been like a good thing for both characters, because it made her a lot more interesting and made him like have to really go through like an emotional struggle. But other than just his buddies are dying, that's easy because it just builds on his desire for revenge and his lust for blood.
I can't wait to see what the big guy's going to do to you.
Yeah, Jason, talk to me about that this man, so the catalyst of this show is that the one guy, I forget the character's name, but the guy that gets pulled, that dies, that starts this whole murder revenge quest, is put on a helicopter, and he's about to get murdered, and he is talking to Robert Patrick as he's about to get murdered.
This is where I fell in love with the show. And honestly, me and my wife have been quoting that line, for a week now, because it's like that just sums up the show. It's like they're more worried about these like fun one-liners than what actually a character in that situation would do or say, because he's about to get thrown off a helicopter, and his biggest worry is, he wants to make sure this guy is going to be trembling in fear every moment after his death, with the big guy coming out to get him, which I should have written down how many large man acronyms that they use for him. You know, I know they use the big guy quite often, but I
They'll
feel
say
like
the big
everyone else.
guys. They'll say ape or gorilla.
Yeah, yeah. And then when Robert Patrick finally meets him, he's like, "Wow, the surveillance videos don't do you justice." You know, as he's like just walking around him, it's like everyone when they first meet this guy has a comment on his large size. You know, so, but no, that's the. I mean, the worst and the best part of the show is, you know, kind of the writing and then some of these one-liners. So, yeah, it sets it up perfectly, the first episode of what you're in for, and it just leaves no surprises as kind of what this is going to entail, this show. So, I know it didn't take much convincing for me and Remy to watch this. I mean, it was just fun right off the bat, and then just yeah, like I said, something magnetic about Reacher too. You know, it's like every time he's on screen, you want to see him. Which, a funny little side story. So, not aware of this actor whatsoever. I've never seen him in anything, whatnot. And I'm at the movie theater a couple weeks ago, and see the trailer for Ordinary Angels. I guess it's a Christian movie coming out with Hilary Swank, and he's like the lead actor in it too.
That is
It's
so random.
Yeah,
That is
yeah.
the
I guess
most.
it's
That is a Mad Libs of a fucking title.
dude.
Oh my
I
god.
know. Ordinary Angels. Yeah, it is. And so it's you're very. I think it's Christmas this year, and they're already put, or it must have just come out, or I don't know. It can't be for Christmas this year coming up. It must be just some winter movie. Anyways, it is so freaking predictable as far as what the movie is, more predictable than this. But it's one of those classic previews for a movie that tells you the entire movie in the preview. And I'm not just saying like a kind of, it shows you the first, middle, and the last scenes of it. And so I'm so upset with this actor. You know, I'm like, how could you be part of some trailer, you know, that tells like the whole movie? And me and my wife were just talking smack about Hilary Swank and this, and then this guy, and then seeing him on this show. It's like, oh, this is this Christian guy actor, you know, that very predictable movie now in a very predictable show, you know. So it's like, it was funny to get introduced to this guy as this preview for this movie, and then it's very similar, almost feel to the show kind of thing. So, but yeah, that's my little introduction to this guy into my life.
So you never watched, or you're not familiar with Blue Mountain State at all?
No. Just saw
Oh,
that now on his IMDb, but I have no idea what it is.
oh, it's a very very dumb jock show. Um, and he plays Thad, who is the ultimate dumb jock on the show. He's not the main character. There's a couple others, but he is one of the main cast.
Dumb jock
And
number three.
was that?
Dumb jock number three. In
Yeah,
the,
literally. I mean, so he's just like plays a complete idiot. He's really funny as a complete idiot. And so that was my introduction, because I watched a chunk of that show, and that was my introduction to him. And then he kind of like didn't really do much for a little bit. The show petered off, had like a Netflix movie. The main actor from that show is now on a soap opera, making whatever cheap money that soap opera people make. No offense. But and then but then Alan Richson somehow is the guy that lucked out, because he's just like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get even bigger. He's like, I'm just going to get huge. And he just ends up putting his way into the show. The first season, the reason I said you don't need to go watch the first season is because they're completely self-contained stories. And you can watch just like a book. You can watch or read them separately. And the first season is the second season is better as a whole. But you get more of Reacher by himself in season one, which I appreciate, because I don't think he actually needs the rest of this cast to like, he doesn't need them. He can pull on his own. And so that was one of those things where I was like, hopefully in season 3 we'll get a little bit more of his own time again.
Remy, I have a question for you since you're in the gym world. So how does a homeless man get that body? That's what I'm trying to figure out. What is his workout routine as being a homeless man?
I mean, he eats a lot. That's something that they do show in season 1, is he's like constantly eating. Like, he has a crazy appetite. So they didn't really pull it back for the second season. They kind of just pushed that to the wayside. But I do like that in season 1, they do they do make a point to him just constantly like, I should get some food. And it makes sense, because if you're that big. Now, they don't ever say anything about him like visiting the local gym, which he would probably need to do. Because like in his list of things, it should be like, because he's like cheap motels, fake ID or fake names, cash, gyms, local gyms, mom and pop's gyms. Like it makes like it's the idea that he's that big and jacked and like he doesn't ever talk about going to the gym is a little bit weird. Unlikely. I mean, every now and then you get a specimen that is big and jacked and they don't really have to try hard for it, but not him.
I don't know how much they're compensating because this show, Reacher, the character Jack Reacher, is based on a series of books by Lee Childs, started in '97, and I believe they're still ongoing. I don't know what those books are supposed to be, if they're supposed to be schlocky or if they're just kind of these. I do believe they're these self-contained stories of this character that goes around murdering people ostensibly, justifiably murdering them, according to him. Because there is a scene in this where he's talking to a preacher, and the preacher's like, "Oh, don't do it! You're throwing your life away, son," or whatever. And he's just like, "Don't worry about me, Father. I've got righteousness on my side."
So dude, he's like Captain America. He's got the strongest moral code, that includes murdering people, but he's very, very convicted with it.
But it would
break some eggs to make some omelets.
What would make a character or a show like this like a lot better is because at least in other types of shows where there's a character that goes around murdering people, typically you need other characters to give you a different perspective or a grounded perspective. Like Batman, for example, is great because there's Joker, and Joker like completely flips the narrative. But Batman's a vigilante and is constantly like, sometimes he's with the law, he's against the law, but there's always a question on whether or not he's justified. Reacher, there's no questioning. He just is what he is. But part of the character that the movies with Tom Cruise, there's 2 movies with Tom Cruise that came out that people that are fans of the books did not like, specifically because Reacher's supposed to be like 6'6", and he's supposed to be this giant dude. And so when Tom Cruise movies come out and Tom Cruise is not 6'6", it kind of changes the whole dynamic of his character, which you see in this show where he's constantly talking about, "Oh, you're so big, you're so big, you're so big." Which I don't believe that they ever just talk about how big Tom Cruise is in the Jack Reacher movies. However, this is the beauty of life. Because you have a show where Jack Reacher in this is just, they're trying to make him look like the greatest guy ever as far as, his capabilities, his ability to kill people. He's so amazing. He's so brilliant. Towards the end of this show, there's a scene where he has to run and jump onto a helicopter's wheel as it carries him into the sky, and he gets on, and it's like, oh, he's so cool. He's getting on this plane. You know who actually did that for real in a real movie? Tom Cruise actually jumped onto a helicopter's dangling carriage and pulled him up into the sky. So what the fantasy world of what Jack Reacher could possibly do, as portrayed by a 6'6" man, pales in comparison to what Tom Cruise actually did. So the whole moral of this story is that Tom Cruise is the real life Jack Reacher, and Jack Reacher can only aspire to be what Tom is.
I cannot believe this got hijacked into a Tom Cruise suck off. Oh my God.
Well, no, I think that's the most smack I've ever heard him talk about Tom Cruise ever, admitting to him not being 6 foot. Yeah.
I just said he's not 6'6". I think he's like 6'5", but he's just not 6'6".
And how much easier it is for some little small midget man to pull himself up onto a plane than it is the big guy, But that's not even the most unbelievable part of that scene. It's him hanging from the helicopter, holding the stretcher with her attached to it still, and pulling that up while she is removing herself from it. And then
that was
I was like, oh my God, really? You had me for so long on this show.
That was a one-up of the Batman Begins of Christian Bale holding onto the cliffside with one arm and holding Liam Neeson with the other arm.
Curls. Dude, he curls a whole man. A whole man. Like, that's insane. It's not like he like shimmied him. He's just like, I did? Okay, so now, yeah, I'm so glad we could talk about that scene because there was a legitimate part of me that expected him to pull the helicopter back to the ground like Captain America.
You're not going anywhere.
I swear. You would not. I mean, if that had happened, would you even have been like, "Oh, that's crazy"? No, that doesn't make sense within the very framework of the show.
I mean, it didn't make sense that they decided just to play target practice with a helicopter with their missiles afterwards. It's like, yeah, we'll let the helicopter
Oh,
go.
dude, I love it. Neely has the surface to air rocket, and I already knew. I knew what was going to happen. So first off, they just blow up a helicopter out of the sky and just are like, yeah, hopefully it doesn't land on any people or anything.
Yeah, above a suburban neighborhood, probably.
Oh, they're waiting for it to be over the river. They said,
Yeah.
we're waiting.
Right.
There's no one in a boat late at night, like
or bridges, or any of that.
Don't worry about the little fishies and froggies down there. They just launch, no recoil, none. She literally doesn't move at all. It just goes. And she doesn't fucking flinch.
Oh no, she says fire in the hole first because she needs to tell everyone that fire in the hole. They're all waiting, watching.
Fire in the hole. I was like, I mean, I've only seen so many videos of rockets being shot, but typically it's a chunk, like even with guys that are prepared for it. And she's standing, not even like kneeling, not like just standing, just chunk.
Well, if you shoot a 45 Magnum, that thing has recoil like boom, like a 45 Magnum. Launcher. This is a rocket launcher. Maybe it's because it's Little Wing is the name for it.
I thought it was Little Wayne for most of the show. I thought it was Little Wayne. And when they said Little Wing at the end, I'm like, oh, that makes more sense. But I do like Little Wing much better.
But maybe the Little Wing rocket launchers have zero recoil. It's an amazing technology.
Maybe.
Let's round table just unbelievable scenes one after the other. Mine was the bar fight when he's fighting those two random dudes when they go to find the girl.
Oh my god!
They're like, get out of here! And she runs out the back door while he gets led into a hallway that they can now corner this guy, and of course beats the shit out of them like through walls and everything like that, and then shares beers with them like immediately afterwards. Like he just like crushed these people. If some guy just did that to me, I'm not having a Budweiser with you in 5 minutes.
He throws one dude's head through a wall. He like takes his head and puts it through a wall, and then the next thing he's just got a little ice pack on. He's
That's the problem with having a dude this big, because that scene just made like the most middle America scene ever. A guy goes into a bar, and instead of just being like, no, she's not here, she's off today, or like have a beer, like we'll go get her, and you do a stall or whatever. They have a dude that's like a full like foot shorter than Reacher and his friend walk Reacher into a hallway and then be like, you're gonna need to not like come around here, mister. It's just like, am I supposed to be like concerned for Reacher right now that two jamokes are like threatening him?
And they're the only two people in the bar too. The two like ready to rumble jamokes. They're just waiting for that situation. All right, go. Next unbelievable scene.
Unbelievable.
You have the biker gang.
Oh, that's a good one.
Her collecting the guns all orderly.
Oh, he throws a cinder block in episode 2. He throws a cinder block at a man's head, and the dude just eats it.
Yes.
There's just like a like I was like, oh, fucking cinder block. Like, you throw a cinder block at somebody's head, it's literally the equivalent of like taking a bat and like.
They had a surplus of those foam cinder blocks during that scene. They used them in every scene. Every time someone gets thrown through a wall, you can tell it's those perfectly Lego stacked, fake cinder blocks go tumbling. And then when he falls off the edge at the very end, it's one of those perfect like cinder block covered, mats, that they fall into. Like, and he's like, oh, he must died. And that's like the next level of murdery for this group is they talk later about that, like those bodies, that we left over the construction site. He's like, oh no, we didn't leave them, we put them in the wet cement, and they won't find them until they break the foundations of the movie or of the building. You're like, you did what? You just like hid all these bodies in the foundation of you guys are like Dexter level now. It's like,
dude, I'm telling you. So I mean, okay, if we could just get to my favorite scene of the whole fucking show, when they go to the hospital and there's the guy that they're going to interrogate for information. He looks down, he's got a catheter in, and he's like, oh, and he starts pumping air into the catheter, and he says that his dick is going to explode like a fucking piñata. And the dude's like, while his dick is near exploding. And then he's like, finally gives up the information, and he's like, okay, like takes the air out or whatever. The dude's like fucking tripping, and he's just like, well, I can't just kill you, but he's like, if I give you blood clots, no one will think a second, no one will think anything. And he's just like, what? Pumps air into his fucking IV. Dude goes into shock and dies. Insane, dude.
And
This man
so
is the protagonist of the show, and he's torturing people in the most horrific way you can imagine. It's awesome. It's one of the greatest scenes I've ever seen.
And so you think that he's like putting this air into his bloodstream to have like a slow later death, not like instantly right there when he's sitting next to him, because all the hospital staff watch them walk into this room. They have it all attached to him. As soon as that flat line happens, they're going to come running in, and they just like stroll out of this room, and no one stops them. This murdered
cop right outside the door, and he just walks right on past.
Oh, they must have nothing to do with that. All the screaming people and the sirens going off behind them as they're walking away. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. I forgot about that scene. The air,
That's what made
the balls
made no sense. Well, like that's the moment Reacher made a lot of sense and then went completely against it, because he says, well, if I cause this giant explosion of your dick in this room, like that'll cause a lot of questions. People look at security footage. He says this. And then he proceeds to immediately kill the guy by pumping air into him. And immediately as they walk out, people rush in because he's flatlined. And I'm like, bro, what you just said of how they're going to look at security footage and be like that's literally about to happen. You don't have anyone questioning his methods the way that 24, a show that was on Fox, but I would say does not qualify as a Middle America show. 24 would have Jack Bauer going around torturing people to get to the next guy, and constantly the rest of the people that were supporting him were like, dude, you can't be doing this. He's like, this is ridiculous. Like your methods are too extreme. But he's effective, and sometimes you need a guy like that. But Reacher, it's just like he literally kills the guy and then walks out. And then I guess we should talk about the villains, because I do, we all love Robert Patrick of Terminator 2 fame. Guy's one of the most iconic characters of all time. But they don't give him anything to do other than pace in a warehouse. And this show's partially about fetishes.
Oh, yeah.
Robert Patrick has a fetish for throwing people out of helicopters. The guy has two of Jack Reacher's friends dead to rights. And this, instead of just shooting them and being like, you guys are dead, I'm going to put your bodies where no one's going to find them, he hauls them as they're strapped to the boards and wiggling their way, like, no, pulls them off the helicopter so he can drop them off.
Well, Richard makes an offhand comment earlier. He's just like, oh no, he drops him to avoid ballistics. Whatever that means.
The 3 to 4 people getting dropped from an airplane,
helicopter,
that are all connected, part of the same military branch, won't bring up any suspicions or anything. One guy, maybe.
Nope.
Multiple people,
No, there's no bullets in them, so it's all okay. It's as long as they fall forward. And they shoot the guy in the leg, and they're like, "Oh well, we need to get that bullet out," and they just stab a knife into him to pop the bullet out. But speaking of deaths, though, Robert Patrick, he needed a better death. Though he just got pushed out the back of the helicopter.
Well, Reacher tells him earlier, he's like, "I'm going to make you fucking fly," or whatever he says.
But I mean, he just tortured and murdered multiple of his friends and sent multiple squads of hitmen at them that he had in the back.
Tore off his arms and legs.
Something, yes, and just beat him with them
like from Monty Python, just rip.
Yeah, something
drawn and quartered.
Yeah, Robert Patrick did not get the ending that he deserved. But talking about endings, so they all are like beat to shit, and they steal all the money and they walk out and they go to that diner to have coffee, and the walk of all of them in of just dried blood just everywhere. It's just like all they had to do was like this, and they would have been better. But they've left it all on there, and like I said, Buddy just like had a knife, like a bullet removed from his leg with a knife, and he's just kind of strolling in and sits down. Like all of them were they're so beyond fucked up, and they all need to be in the hospital, but they want to have this cup of coffee at their local diner first to kind of wrap stuff up.
Well, don't forget Neely. She wants Pebbles, Puffs, and damn it, another P type of cereal. Puffs, Pebbles, and
Me and my wife about
Pops.
flipped the table when we were watching this because we're in the restaurant industry. He's like, there's nowhere you can order cereal on a menu. Have you ever seen cereal on any menu anywhere, especially like a diner? It's like you can't order Cheerios
Continental
or Cocoa
breakfast.
Puffs. Count Chocula from a diner. They don't offer that shit. And she's like multiple times orders just cereal. They know which one to bring her.
Continental breakfast. That's where you can get your puffs,
Yes.
and whatever.
Free at a hotel. Yeah, not some diners paying for that.
The other fetish is Reacher. Reacher's fetish is that he loves surprising the bad guy on the phone that it's not his
Yes,
intention.
this is so
This
good.
happens
Yeah.
so
Is
many
it done
times
yet?
in the show. Like, it gets to the point where I was expecting like Robert Patrick to call and be like, please don't be Reacher, and be like, sorry, it's me again. But there's never, it's just constantly like, oh, it's Reacher again on the other line.
Oh, you got me. No, but the one-liners get better and better every time he picks up the phone or something. Is it done yet? It's like, if you mean by done that the guy's face is in his asshole, then yes.
Other good deaths, and we talked about this off the on the phone, but other good deaths in this are the heel, the stiletto to the eye.
Yeah.
That was sick. I mean, she has a lot of strength in her fucking tricep, holding this chick one arm on here, both guys' arms with a knife, and she's like, "Hold on, let me get my shoe." Hiya! Just right into his eye. That was great. What other good deaths are there? They blow up an entire building to kill one guy. A whole building to kill that one shooter.
Yep.
Well, the death that I was just like, this is handled so poorly, is the cop, is Dom's death. Is Dom is watching over this little girl while Reacher is out trying to murder people. And they get ambushed by this car and by the way, there's no reloading. This whole show, everyone has like 100 bullets in their chamber, just
except
rattling.
Reacher does have a couple times where, like, I think 3 times where he has guns either run out of ammo or jam, just so it gives him the excuse to beat somebody up with his own fists.
Mm-hmm. Pick up that next gun and use it against someone or whatever object around him. Yeah.
And so he does the heroic thing of just keep running, don't look back, which it's just a terrible strategy because he could just stay behind the car and keep shooting, but he goes out into the open to draw bullet fire. So he specifically gets shot at. They shoot him. And then the little girl goes running. And then all of a sudden, just the way it's edited is so bad. So she turns around and the guy's just standing there. Like there's nothing around hiding. He's just standing there being like, sorry, little girl. And then all of a sudden, the white of the headlights on this dude's head just show up, and boom, he just gets ran into by Jack Reacher. And then he's dying. And then who's Neely? Is that the girl?
Yeah.
Neely comes over, and Dom's bloody hand is like this, and she just gives him like it's gonna be all right as he dies. And it's like, what?
But it meant so much because she's asexual and she doesn't like people touching her.
I guess, but like, my God, that was just handled so poorly for like trying to give a guy the heroic death. But I laughed hysterically when all of a sudden the girl turns around and the dude's just standing there like this in the middle of the warehouse.
I mean, what does it say about somebody that, like, Reacher? Obviously, we could psychologically break that one down if we wanted to. But what is it? How reflective is it that Neely also doesn't have problems murdering people, but she can't be physically touched? That's more scary than anything Reacher has.
Sociopaths, or they think that's the thing. There's just never a question of morality ever.
Well, they make a comment about Reacher being a sociopath, and he's just like, never diagnosed. Everyone's just like,
No, it is crazy. Everyone just goes along with it, which we've already talked about. But as you, the audience, you're supposed to go along with the fact that, hey, don't think about it, feel it. This guy goes around. These people are bad. He kills them. Who cares? They're bad people. And there's always like one guy in a branch of the government that is like covering for them. There's the guy that works, the cop that's interrogating the cokehead. And that guy like allows Reacher to come in and interrogate him and then leave. And so that guy covers that, and Dom covers this over here. There's always like one-off government person that's like, okay, they're taking care of the paperwork and the body trail, like ostensibly.
Yeah, the amount of people who flip to help him, that they have all been used. It's just like, yeah, the woman and the girl, the her being
Oh,
used,
yeah.
as a, I don't know, as a hostage and stuff like, yeah. And I mean, and then even the death of the cop, with on the side of the desk, he pushes the desk against his leg, pins him against there. It's like, reach for the gun, I dare you to, or something like that, and it's just that whole scenes and stuff like that. But it's so expected though, it's like I expected all those deaths to look the come out like that. I expected all those scenes to turn out like that. So that's what's so different about this show is you're going in with super low expectations and it hits it on every on every note.
The one thing that I was like, I when I was watching that last episode, and Robert or Langston, Robert Patrick is like, "Oh, you want to see Swan?" And he walks over to the desk, and he reaches down. I thought he was gonna pull up his head. I thought he was gonna pull up his head. He didn't. He pulls up an eyeball and a thumbprint, which, I guess that was something new. I haven't seen that before. It was just like, oh, all I kept about him was his eyeball for retinal scan and his finger for fingerprint, just right here in this little jar. And then he's just like, as like done with it, he's like, toss this, throw this away. The good off screen death, I guess. But the main character of this that we haven't even mentioned at all is AM Ferdinand Kingsley, the terrorist middleman. Kind of like he's the middleman, but basically totally pointless. Like you could completely remove his scenes and everything transpires the same way because it's all about Kingsley. I mean, Langston getting the product to that barn, and then he just shows up and then just gets shot 100 times. Which is really funny because it's not like they shoot him in a way that it feels personal, but he hasn't killed any of their people. He's just the buyer. It's really funny the way that they make it, like they build it up. And I'm like, this guy, as far as I could tell, he killed 2 fat guys in a parking lot and then slit the throat of his lookalike plastic surgeon, which is really,
Oh yeah.
and then the hostess or the front desk lady. So he kills like 4 people, I guess.
The look of surprise on his face when he gets shot, I thought that was like really good. He did not expect. He'd like, okay, you can cuff me and I'll go to jail, I'll get out of all of this, and they just caps him in the leg. He's like, this has never happened before. It's like, oh, that's not all, buddy. There's a couple more bullets coming your way.
Yes.
After that one.
And then the final little twist, of this senator is going to tie up his loose ends and actually have his 3 special op guys. And then Reacher's just like, I knew you would do something like that. That's why I called Homeland Security. Whoop, 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 whoop.
Right on cue.
And then they just go along with it. They just like, oh, we've been found out. Oh, we would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for meddling Reacher. But like they could have shot them right then and there and been like, oh, they're the murder brigade. Like, we're the good guys. They could have done that. But no, they're just like, oh, they found out.
Scooby-Doo ending.
And then again, final Reacher gets the guy on the phone to be like, to let him know that you're not today, sir.
Oh, he put it on speakerphone that time so everyone could hear.
Yeah.
It would have been better if Reacher was FaceTiming these dudes, and every time they just see his massive head in the FaceTime being like, surprise.
just right up, just for this part of his face is all you see.
Oh, not again, Reacher. See, I think we had one of the best times talking about this horrible movie that
it's so good. That's what I'm telling you. It's special.
Agree that it's bad, and we have a good time watching bad stuff. We just got to go into some more of our products that we're watching with very low expectations.
The show's popularity blows my mind. Because I don't think, from what I see, I could be wrong, but from what I see, I don't think most people are watching the show being like, it's so dumb that there's some entertainment there. I think most people are like, yeah, Jack Reacher, he's kicking ass. Yeah. Like, I think that is most people watching the show. And of course, there is the allure of the giant hulking sex appeal on 2 legs. So there is that. And I think that is a big part of what makes this show so popular. Because if Reacher was played by someone else that wasn't the epitome of a Greek god, you probably would not be tracking as well as it is.
Yeah, Remy, we haven't gotten to your rankings.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Jason. Okay, yeah. So as I did with Predator, I wanted to rank. I'm just picking like the main characters and then the main characters, and I'm going to rank them as far as sexiest or from least sexy to sexiest. I think we all know who number one's going to be, but so at the very bottom is the very bottom of the list. As far as just the least fuckable is Robert Patrick. And it's not just because he's old. That face is that's a worn, seen too many winters kind of face. So that's the bottom. I'm gonna give just to balance it out a little bit. I'm gonna put Lachlan Moreau, David Wright's character, right above him. Yeah. Also seen one too many winters, but not as ragged. And just a fun character that I enjoyed, who also was like the biggest, supposed to be the bad guy, like a bad guy stabbed them in the back, but no, he's just a nice guy who helps them and gives them information and puts them up in a nice suite. After that, we have actually scratch that. After Robert Langston,
I'm recanting.
Robert Patrick is Dominic Lombardozzi.
Dominic didn't even make it past guy that looks like Chael Sonnen.
No. I mean, honestly, if you woke up in bed and you look over and you saw Tom,
God, no, I'm not imagining
you
this.
would scream. But Lachlan Monroe would be it'd be startling, but not scream worthy. After that, you have Swan. You have Tony Swan, who you get a few more scenes and just more mentions, even though he's not in a ton of it. I'm not going to go through the rest of the special investigators that like die quickly and stuff, but I have Tony Swan, who's just like a very regular looking dude. He's just a regular looking dude. And the only reason that Neely is the one right above him is that she might look good under her clothes. Maybe. I don't know. She's wearing jackets all the time. So I think a little bit of the mystery is like, ooh, maybe she looks good. And she actually, I have seen her like not in this show, but if you like, she like takes her hair out. She's not bad looking. She has like kind of a whatever face, but I think she might look good under all of that. Then the next step would be, and this is a tough one. This is where it gets a little bit tough. David O'Donnell. He's supposed to be a playboy, the playboy, like good looking dude. And he is, but I think he is from the neck down. I think he's mostly just a regular body type. Nothing to write home about. And then obviously, then at number 2, I got she got an interesting name, Serinda Swan, Carla Dixon, the romance interest. Clearly there mostly for her looks and just being another kind of boring character who's pointless. But she's hot enough to fuck Jack Reacher. And obviously at the top of the list, Jack Reacher, if he doesn't win World's Hottest Man or Hottest Men, what is that magazine?
Oh, GQ.
GQ's Hottest Man of the Year award?
Something like that.
Best looking? No, hottest. The hottest man?
Sexiest man. Thank you. Sexiest man of the year obviously goes to Jack Reacher, played by Alan Ritchson. You couldn't craft a hotter person if you tried. You really couldn't. All the size, the rugged good looks, everything that the character does that's so cool and badass all the time, and he's so smart. He's perfect. That's my list.
If you took Tom Cruise's magnetism and put it in Alan Richman's body,
it would lead nations,
or at least conquer them.
Yeah.
So, final thoughts. I don't even know like a rating system. TV shows are hard to rate, so I don't even know how to begin. I guess final thoughts that I have. There is the plot of the show in the 7th episode, I believe. They do flashbacks. And everyone agrees that they're willing to risk their career to stop heroin, being imported. And Reacher's like, this is our last week on the job, and I'm not going to force you guys to be with me. But they're all willing to risk their entire careers, their families' like livelihood, so they can stop
Retirement,
a handful of
benefits.
heroin. As opposed to like, hey, like there's some kidnappers out there, and we've been told to stand down, but we got to stop the kidnappers. Something that would have been a little more of a pull. And then my other thought is, Reacher is giant, but he walks like C-3PO. And I understand that literally that is like, when you're that huge, there's not a lot of movement compared to a smaller person. But they don't film him properly. He's massive, and so it doesn't really matter how you film him per se. But if you go to, say, Bane in The Dark Knight Rises, Tom Hardy is a much smaller man. He's like 5'10" tops. And he's not even that jacked. He's just kind of larger. But Christopher Nolan just frames him so perfectly that he looks so giant. And that, I think Reacher would have been benefited from some better cinematography that could have captured him looking better, as opposed to they just kind of show him walking and it looks weird, and it doesn't make him seem as cool when he's walking because he just looks so awkward. Anyway, final thoughts, ratings. Jason, how would you categorize your final thoughts on the show?
I mean, I think it's always, would I recommend this to someone or not, And yeah, I'd recommend the show, and it's fun. I would definitely premise it with, this is dad middle America. I guess now is the term we're using for this. That I like the dad TV. So it did exactly what I wanted it to do. And I don't know if this is writer strike stuff or writer's thing or anything like that. Like it could have been better, or is this kind of before all this or whatnot? But
I saw season 1. This is the ceiling.
Okay, I was trying to give it some like crutch or some angle that it could have been better, but no, I mean it did exactly what I wanted it to do. I wanted something a little bit more relaxed and a little bit more beat 'em up, and seeing this guy destroy biker gangs with his big old meat hooks was fun, and so I'd recommend this. I had a great time, and it pains me how much we had to force this for you to get to watch it. You should trust me and Remy on our our recommendations, but yeah, no, this is a cool, fun show, and despite all of its misgivings, it was still a good ride.
I recommend the show to everybody. I tell everybody they should watch the show because I think every single person can find something about the show to be interested in, whether it's regardless of how seriously they take it, or how critical they are. I think everybody can enjoy this, either for the schlockiness and the silliness, or the violence. I think is fun and creative a lot of times. I just had to pull it up. The director, I was just curious. Like, we know what the writers for this show are. They're all writers of Middle America shows. The directors are the same. The first director I pulled up, Sam Hill, directed episode 1 of season 2. He is best known for his directing and producing work on the television series CSI Miami. Dude, it's literally like, we know exactly what we're going to get. I can't wait for season 3. I have a blast watching this show. I think most people can. And I'm really glad we talked about it. My cheeks kind of hurts from smiling so much. I was going to say, because there's so much enjoyable stuff to talk about in the show. But I love that Alan Richardson has kind of stumbled his way into a show that is way more popular than I ever thought it was going to be. Even after watching season 1, I was like, oh, that's fun. Like, dumb, fun show. And there's like some really, man, oh, dude, I wish you guys watched season 1 just if for no other reason than, oh, and by the way, season 1, you know where it ends? In a giant warehouse fight. That is where the show ends. Yeah, but there's the one of the monologue from the bad guy at the end of season 1 is so dumb. It's so dumb. It's great. Anyway, this show's fun. Alan Richardson is apparently trying to levy his way into a superhero role. I hope he gets it. It would be wasted to not like it. Although he's so large, it would be hard to pull off any sort of ambiguity. Like, not knowing that he's a superhero would be a little tricky. having an alias would be a little bit weird. But
yeah, he's no Clark Kent. Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, this show's awesome, super fun. Glad we talked about it. Glad you guys watched it.
This show is so stupid, I can't recommend this show. Like, yes, if you like Middle America shows, this is like.
But I don't like those shows. I
That's not
despise
true.
those shows.
You say that, but you have watched a fair share of Middle America shows, possibly because of your love interest. You have watched a decent amount. So because when I say Middle America shows, I'd have to explain that to most people of what that means. When I say Middle America show to you, you know instantly what I meant, because that's a genre of show.
Yes, but like I do not like The Office is not Middle America.
No.
The Office has much better writing and creativity to it that is not Middle America, even if it is generally popular.
All of America has watched it. So yes, Middle America has watched it, but that is just a show, an American show. So it is, but like Big Bang Theory, if Big Bang Theory is your top
anything
comedy,
with a laugh track is basically Middle America.
Yes, absolutely. Except for Seinfeld, of course.
Of course.
So if you like those kind of shows and you just want dumb action, big jock dude, then by all means. But it is not like, hey, there's a show called Breaking Bad. You got to check out The Wire that you need to check out because it's so like intriguing and it makes you think. And how do you feel about this and that? It's not that show. So if you want absolute ridiculousness, I suppose you could check it out. Yes, Alan Rickman is levied to be the next Batman. I don't know, because I don't know, like with better material, would he be able to kind of flesh out his personality a little more? He does look like the Dark Knight Returns Batman, who's just so huge and massive. So I could see that happening, and because of the popularity of the show, maybe it will happen. But there's also The Terminal List on Amazon Prime, which takes itself much more seriously, which is a better show, but definitely not nearly as just stupid fun. Where like you watch the Terminal show with Chris Pratt, and it's like a serious kind of, it's similar premise of like the team starts to die and what's going on here, and so it's not as takes itself as seriously or as realistic as that show perhaps. But if you just want absolute nonsense, that is Last Page.